All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to another Stone Ridge Connect session. We're really excited today to cover the Flight Lab, Turn Your Marketing Game Up to 11. I tell you, these absolutely are amazing when we get to see how we actually use Copilot to address real world scenarios for many different types of users. And today, we have a guest here that's going to be giving us a lot of her learnings as she's gone through this. Mrs. Sue Whitney, would you like to do a quick introduction of yourself as we go through this?
Sure thing, Scott. Thank you. Thank you. So, my marketing background has spanned quite a bit of time, going from the good old days of print publishing all the way through online services, and then the past 10 years in the Microsoft channel. And I'm just excited to be here today to introduce some Copilot features that I think can make a really big difference for marketers and how they do their jobs.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll do a quick intro too, as I'm going to be basically just giving some color commentary and basically some background then as well in terms of, what I've seen as people interact obviously with Copilot and prompts. But my name is Scott Frappier. My role at Stone Ridge is the Chief AI Architect. Really, I've been in this space for about 23 years, which is pretty interesting because I came right out of college, right into the business system space. And really, what I love to do is focus on really complex capability enablement inside of organizations, which includes not only base software based packages, but also obviously AI enablement as well. So, yeah, today, Sue, this is kind of your show. I'm really interested and really curious on what you've learned as you've gone through your Copilot journey because you're using it quite a bit right now, and you've
I
got some
am.
really key learnings that you've had that you're going to be able to share today.
Perfect. Perfect. So, just a quick look at what the agenda is going to hold for us. Just want to talk about what Copilot is, why it's important, where you can find it, and then look at some use cases focusing on content, keywords, SEO prompts. Dig a little bit into the design capabilities of Copilot, things you can do with analytics, and also some social media cases that you can get out there and take your paid campaigns to the next level. So we'll wrap it all up with takeaways and let's jump on in.
Awesome.
So, Copilot, first off, what is Copilot? Let's talk about what it is. This time right now with Copilot reminds me a lot of growing up, dating myself here, when calculators were allowed to be introduced into classrooms. And every parent on the face of the planet thought their child would never learn how to do math properly. And I feel like there's a lot of conversations around Copilot taking over roles, taking over what we're going to do. And it's really not that way. Copilot is at its heart a tool. It is able to have the capability of a computer to go out there, curate data, bring together a lot of content that a human being would normally not be able to go through in any type of a efficient time frame. What's nice about Copilot, and Scott, I think you'll probably touch base about this a little bit, is it's a large language model, which means I get to talk to it. I get to have a conversation with it. I don't have to talk in zeros and ones. I do need to be specific, but I can ask it questions as though I'm talking almost to a virtual assistant or a virtual coworker. So that's what Copilot is. It is not a replacement. And it is not a substitute for any sort of critical thinking or analysis. And it most definitely is not a replacement for conversations to have with your sales team, with your customer service team, with your support team, with your clients and your customers. It's meant to augment and take that information to the next level. So still have those important conversations about why your product or why your service or what your org can offer your audience within their customer journey, their buyer's journey, and then use Copilot to add some layers of information onto it. And lastly, Copilot is important because this is the new way of doing business. This is the new way of how we work. Data, data, data. It is everywhere. And it is just way, way, way too much for a human being to consume in a timely manner to make decisions. And so a tool like Copilot is transformative because it can do work that we as human beings are not necessarily able to do. So I find it very exciting.
Yeah, Sue, I love these points that you've brought up. I mean, just to kind of bring it home, it's kind of interesting when I've got a high schooler. He's 17, graduating this year, so really excited for the next steps in life. And we've had a lot of conversations regarding AI enablement and the use of ChatGPT as an example, or Copilot, because remember they're based off of the same large language model technology. And the comments that you hear from kids nowadays are, I don't know where I'd be without ChatGPT. So this is just, it's a very, your example just really resonates even currently because it's an introduction of an emergent technology that makes it easier for us to really interact with technology. The natural language capability is just a huge win when it comes to people interacting then with systems to get more information. But I love as well how you're stating that it's not a replacement for you. That's why they call it Copilot. And it perfect. Like that is so spot on. Like you still have to use your cognitive abilities to make
Yes,
sure, right, that it aligns
you
to
do.
what you're trying to tackle, but how it can generate that content faster for you that you can audit. You can add your own flavor to it, your own tone, your own facts as well if you want to. It's really powerful and it just makes it so transformative to your point. So I think those are fantastic points to bring up here.
So let's dive into where we find Copilot. And I often feel as though I'm not looking for Copilot. Copilot is finding me. You can find it embedded in the apps for Microsoft, up in the ribbons. You find it when you open up your documents, when you go to write an email. It finds you. It is such a great tool, and it knows what you're working on, and it knows how to help you. And aside from all the apps, you can also access it through the Microsoft365.com chat link out on the internet.
Awesome. Love it.
So let's talk about content creation because Copilot is great at helping you create content. And as a marketer, content is king. That's what we're always told. This list could go on and on and on. It's meant to be an overview of different types of content. So it's not meant to be a completely inclusive list, but blogs, emails, A/B tests for pre-header text that shows up in an Outlook email, subject line tests, ebooks, web pages, announcements. If you can dream it, Copilot can help you create it. And let's look at some of the prompts that are around that. So if I'm in Copilot, um, I might want to say, hey, create a presentation for my sales team to use. Make this paragraph sound more professional. Make it sound more conversational. A lot of times I'll just take a sentence that I know has um, the point I want to make, but it's just kludgy, not quite there, and I'm not nailing it. I'll ask Copilot, take a look at this, make this sound crisper, make this sound clearer, make this sound more direct. Analyze my text, make it more concise. Suggest suggest ideas for a white paper. I know I have a campaign in this area. What else can I do to create different types of messaging around that? So it's really, really a coworker in that regard to help you brainstorm, help you get started, help you edit what you're working on. But in all of this, when you're talking to Copilot, and you really are having a conversation with Copilot, it's the prompt. The better the prompt, the more specific the prompt, the better information you're going to get, which is just like talking to a human being. You have a conversation with someone, ask a close end sentence, you're going to get a close end response. Copilot will act the same way. You ask a defined question, give it a lot of parameters, it's going to give you all your information back.
Yeah, I love that Sue. So, like you had said, like number one, Copilot's getting everywhere, right? You're in Word, all of a sudden it'll just pop up, and you'll see the little Copilot icon, even in the paragraph, as an example. We've got that sidecar experience that we talked about in the last slide, and the point of that is obviously that there's different user interfaces for how you interact then with that application. Now, I just want to kind of double down on the prompt perspective with it. So the way I always compare it to, and I don't, this isn't always 100% correct, but I always view Copilot as a 6 year old. And the reason I do that is because, as I've had kids and they've grown up, what I've seen in some of the behaviors, even that you actually have from a large language model based system, is that like you said, if you just give very brief summary type information inside of your prompt, the output typically isn't as pointed or as good as you want it to be. So if you're doing a marketing message and saying, do it for businesses that have this type of product, right? That it's great. Like what it's doing, then it has to infer from the product what that product could be used in terms of an industry, and then from there maybe that product is actually used in multiple industries, so it creates content then that doesn't align to maybe the direction that you're trying to go to as a marketer. So as an example with that, you would want to be more specific. You would prompt, for example, at the very beginning some framing prompts to say, hey, pretend that you're going to be in marketing. You're going to want to have a tone that is very neutral or excited towards these types of technologies. You're going to be focusing on agronomists, as an example, or the agronomy industry for, we could even say grain, as an example, right? You're getting more
Mm-hmm.
specific in terms of then accessing that large language model so it gives you better results back. And I think, like you said, Sue, like the conversational perspective is just really critical here. There are technical limitations that we won't talk about in this session, obviously, but the way that you structure then that conversation and even like the follow up that you can do, I think that you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
showing as well.
Yep,
Like it
you're
just
leading right into a
right,
really good.
right,
Yep, let me
it
jump into the next slides because this is
deal,
so very, very
right,
relevant.
right.
So let's look at a prompt. Generic prompt. Write a blog about dynamics. Okay, very plain vanilla, and I can definitely, have Copilot do that. And I'm going to get very high level information. But if I'm looking to be more specific and I'm looking to talk about an industry, as Scott was just saying, here's a better way of writing a prompt, being much more specific. I'm telling Copilot, I want a 500-word blog comparing the benefits of Dynamics versus SAP for a USA chemical manufacturing company. I want a call to action included. That's going to reach out to Stoneridge Software on their website. I'm being very, very specific with what I want Copilot to show me. And Copilot does not disappoint. It does not. This is just showing two of the screen grabs. This response from Copilot was actually much larger,
Yeah.
much longer, I mean. But you can see it's comparing Dynamics to SAP. It's referencing a chemical company. My call to action is very strong, going to Stoneridge Software. So the more specific you can be, the more that you can tell Copilot what you're looking for and thinking about in your mind, what is the purpose that I'm going to be using this content for? The better your conversation with Copilot is going to be. And it even gets better because it's not only used for this type of example, but maybe I know I want to talk to somebody about Microsoft Dynamics and I'm looking to gather industry knowledge to create some collateral around that. Well, how many companies use Microsoft Dynamics GP? Copilot is smart enough to know I'm going to go crawl the web, I'm going to find that information, and I'm going to serve it up. And it does not disappoint. Based on information available, there are approximately 14,089 companies using Microsoft Dynamics. As a person, it would take an entire team of people to find out, or at least one person an entire day, going through websites, trying to find that revenue number that's referenced, the number of employees that's referenced, the number of companies. It's simply not possible with other competing priorities. Have Copilot do that part for you. Then you can determine, 14,000 companies, 50 to 200 employees. I can then ask Copilot to say, well, of those companies, tell me the ones that maybe are food-based. Tell me the ones that are maybe just, pure accounting-based companies. Who's got retail? Who is a small business? You can hone down your funnel of information. And the really, really super part about Copilot, it's giving me a source to reference because we also know the internet, it's full of good data, it's full of bad data. And if I'm going to be publishing this, I need to know where it came from. The burden is on me, not on Copilot. The burden is on me as a human being to look at these results and to go out and say, yes, that is a reliable source. I'm going to reference that. No, that's not such a reliable source. I'm not going to reference it. And that's what that little one means right there.
Yeah, Sue, I'm so happy you didn't allow me to steal your thunder. Thank you so much for
So,
that. Yeah, right. No, I think the key thing here as well, like the conversational element, once again, like even on that prior slide that you were at, all I'm thinking is that, well, what does unified platform mean? Why is that advantageous, right? So you could
mhm,
actually, as you're building that message, if you don't understand what that means, ask more questions about it. And then back to
Yes.
your source
Yeah.
prompt that you had as well,
Yeah.
Sue. Like the cool thing about this, like we're showing it from it's crawling the web to get that info. If you have internal documentation about your products that you're wanting to market, then that might be then related to this. Copilot has the ability to go and look at that information and reference what we call official sources of data, which are data repositories in your organization then, and they're highlighted inside of basically those follow-ups here that you have for information that you can then identify and look at and then access then even your internal infrastructure as well. So I think, Sue, it's a fantastic feature, and it's good to have those references to really
Mhm.
really make you do the work, that the validation work, right, which is what you should be
Yep.
doing as a Copilot enablement perspective.
You're going to publish it, you got to be able to back it up and know that your source is correct.
Mm,
And it is just great that Copilot can summarize all of that for you.
nailed it.
So let's wrap it all up and bring it home. What does this look like? The steps to content creation. And I like this slide a lot because I often feel as though when you go on a hike and you hike to the top of the mountain, you feel like your journey is done. I have reached the summit. You are only halfway there. And Copilot is very much the same way. The starting point, being specific with your prompt, including things around a word count that you're looking for. Where will you be using the content? Any specific benefits, comparisons, calls to action that you want Copilot to do? The content that you get out of that is just the start. And this is the advantage of having a large language model like Copilot to go out and do all of that research because it's such a time saver. But now, here I am. This is the finish. This is me walking back down the mountain to get back to that trailhead and get my content out the door. I need to look at that information. I need to tweak it. I need to make sure it's in my voice. If I've got graphics, are they in the brand of my company or are they in a completely different color or a completely different style that we don't use? And also, while I'm there, marketers love repurposing content. If I'm creating a blog, a white paper, an infographic, well, bring it all home. Tell Copilot at the same time, give me a 25-word social media post. And maybe you're not going to use it right away. Download it, slap it in your file to save that when you're ready to use it, get it out the door. Gain those efficiencies of getting everything done at once. And then the most important, the final step, you have to proofread everything coming out of Copilot. Proofread it, check your sources, and then you're at the trailhead at the bottom of the mountain, and you have done a great job.
It's like climbing Everest, it feels like, Sue. I don't know, right? The going back
Well,
down,
maybe
they
it's not an
say,
Everest mountain. In New
right?
Hampshire, we have 4,000 footers, and maybe it's one of those,
One
but
of
it's
those.
just it's not a let me put it in and get it and I'm done. It's really just helping you filter through volumes and volumes of information that is out there that it is so time consuming.
Or
We
even
know how to do
thought,
it, but we
right?
don't have to keep doing it every time. We know how to look at this stuff. Let's get someone to compile it for us, and then we can use our critical thinking skills and bring it home.
You nailed it. And even thought, right? Because that for me is how I've used Copilot from a marketing or even statement of work document style. Like you've got a bunch of thoughts that you put into a prompt, and then you say from that derive a summary, derive a in scope versus out of scope, derive an assumption list as an example. So I love the way that you're framing it. And like you said as well, the content generation, a lot of people look at it and sometimes they're candidly they're so focused on accuracy versus generation of content. And I'll tell you,
Mm,
when I go through content generation for it, I still have to do the reading, obviously, to make sure that
mm,
it's correct, like you said, from a critical thinking perspective. But I will tell you that creating content around it is so much faster and the same, like it's better sometimes than what I can do, and sometimes it's not as
right.
good, but you adapt that by proofreading it to make it better than as you go through it. So I think that's a very valuable insight
Mhm.
for everyone to know.
Yep. You do. And for those who maybe aren't comfortable, write a blog. Have Copilot write the same blog. Have ChatGPT write the same blog. I have done that.
Yep.
What's different? What do I like about it? There are nuances. Is it this more focusing on product, or Copilot has access into my internal documents for my company with a license that I have? That's got a little bit more of a personal voice than what a ChatGPT had. It also picked up some things that I hadn't realized might have been more important. So if you're just starting out and you're like, I don't want a computer writing my content, it's really not writing your content. It's giving you access to information to put into your content, but challenge it. Ask it to write and you write and see the differences.
Or even, like the example I love to give is if you like your style, copy and paste a couple of your style
Mm,
type emails and say, compare it
yes,
to this style and use that same style. You'll be amazed how well it can actually mimic your style. So, yep.
right. Yep. So it's a great tool. Encourage everybody to use it to, um, take your content to the next level in essence. And now let's jump into keywords and SEO optimization because Copilot has a couple of really great features to use keywords. So keywords are great. They're helping us find the content that we're spending so much time creating. Um, and you can use Copilot with a prompt to ask it, upload your information, share a file. What keywords should be associated with this file? You'd be amazed to see keywords that Copilot will bring up that you actually don't have in your document. And it's a trigger for you to go back and say, oh, let me add those keywords. Copilot feels these keywords are important to this subject matter because it has crawled the web. It has looked at different things. Let me incorporate that. Let me look up what my competitors are using. You can go out, grab your competitor's blog, put that URL in there and ask Copilot to tell you what keywords are best for their content. Compare them. Are you all in the same space? Is there something maybe that they're using that you're not that you want to try to use? It has some really great features and it works in reverse as well. You can say to Copilot, and here's an example on the bottom. I have, uh, manufacturing efficiencies for chemical companies, or maybe my keyword out of that is CRM chemical efficiencies or chemical efficiency in an ERP. What other organizations are using that same keyword? Maybe there's a competitor out there that I'm not even aware of, and I want to now look at what content they have on their site. So you have a lot of different uses that you can do with this type of a prompt. And here's some examples. So this blog, I grabbed this actually off the Stonebridge website, and I said, tell me 10 keywords that would be specific for that blog. Copilot shows me those 10 keywords. Then I can go back and I can look to make sure they're in there. Same point, I went out to Velocio's website and said, well, you show me 10 keywords that are on their blog. Now, these weren't competing articles in this case, but it just goes to show the power that now not only is it helping me do my job better, it's showing me visibility into competitors, things that I may not be thinking of. Time is critical. There's so much to get through during the day. You've got your head down. Copilot is really good at helping you find what your competition is doing as well in a very, very efficient manner. And at the same time, YouTube. So I took a leverage YouTube video. I didn't even give Copilot the link to the YouTube video. I copied the current description I have there and I just said, tell me what 5 keywords should be part of this description, expecting that some of my description would be there. Well, actually, many of those words are not in my description, which is a call to action for me. Go back and look at my descriptions because if these keywords aren't there, then I'm losing out on the visibility for people finding my content. And if anybody as a marketer has been brave enough to go out to Google and type in a keyword that they think should bring up their company as a top search result, it's a little scary hitting that button, then seeing, yeah, I'm not even on the screen 1. I'm actually on screen 3. How do I improve that? Copilot can help me get there.
Love it too.
So it's oh, and then not just that. Again, Copilot, it's smart. It's now knows. Oh, well, maybe you want to know how to. This person doesn't even have these keywords, and I'm not saying it's saying that, but I read it that way. Now it's going to tell me how I can put those keywords into my YouTube video. It's showing me resources to just keep going and keep building. It's fabulous. So let's talk about graphic design, which to me is a part of Copilot that I have struggled with the most, not because Copilot isn't smart, but because it renders things in ways that I'm still working through how to have a relationship with it. I feel as though it's still being developed. It adds text sometimes when I don't want to add text. Sometimes it can make things a little bit too cartoony. So again, the prompt, the prompt, the prompt. If you are looking to design something in Copilot, make sure you're telling it what size do you want the graphic to be? Where are you going to use the graphic? If you have a brand style, give it your hex colors. It'll return your design already into the style that suits your company. And again, going to show some examples. Copilot does sometimes add random text that's not spelled correctly, but then you just keep working with the prompt, keep working with the prompt to fix it. And one of the cool things I recently discovered, Copilot is in the ribbon of PowerPoint, which is great because it can help you put a file in there, have it create your PowerPoint. But what's new, at least that I recently discovered, is that it's now embedded in the designer. So if you're in PowerPoint, you click on that designer button up in the ribbon, you see a little box. Copilot is now in designer. It's just going to help you constantly improve visually how you can get your message across to keep people engaged. So let me jump ahead to the next slide here. And here are some examples of images. This was a prompt where I had just asked for a 600 by 600 LinkedIn image that shows a wheat field with a combine. So Copilot, the lower right, I'm not going to use that one. It added in some funky text. Don't really like the top right. But the two on the left, they're actually not bad. May not exactly be the visual that I want, but I've got a really good starting point here and pretty happy with that. But at the same time, here's another example where I had asked for a combine in a field. And this graphic, if I had just run with it and posted it, it's incorrect. The truck is backwards. That
Right?
part of the combine is supposed to be in the front. So Copilot did not nail that one. And that's something, be very, very careful. If your industry has very specific, especially manufacturing, very specific machinery, equipment, that's used, keep an eye on that with Copilot. Try to be as specific to teach Copilot how to render the design that you're looking for, and be very, very careful to check what your design looks for, because I don't want a grain field with an 18 semi truck trampling the grain. I need that open top grain truck that's out there. So just be aware of your industry and check your graphics.
Yeah, soon. I don't want to take too much time because I know we're getting close here, but
Oh, yeah, sorry.
right, no worries. I was just going to say one thing, just expect it to get better. The new image generation technology that's in Dolly, that's on ChatGPT, remember Microsoft has a contract with OpenAI on that, so this is going to get better. I've been using it quite a bit, to be honest, through ChatGPT because I'm looking at, competitive technologies, and it's pretty startlingly amazing how well it can generate images now. So to your point though, Sue, make sure you're double checking those images because it does
Yep.
it does have more issues in my mind as well with image generation compared to really your text content generation.
So we're going to quickly jump into analytics. So Copilot has a lot of great features. It's embedded in Excel, which is wonderful. It can be a real time saver, helping you sort data, create charts, create graphs, look at pivot tables. And one of the really cool things that I like, Copilot will check your data. So I had an Excel file of 50 rows. I entered the data, and if you had asked me, that data was perfect. I felt like I was in the zone. I didn't feel distracted. I felt like I was entering everything in the same way, and I wasn't. And Copilot picked that up for me when I opened the file up. And it said, you got extra spacing, you have some inconsistencies. How great is that? I can clean my data here before I'm going to load that up into Power BI. And I love that Copilot is an extra set of eyes for me on that. And then looking at some examples of how you can use Copilot in Excel, use the prompt. Ask it to show you what values I'm looking for. What are the top 10 values? Bold it for me. Sort my data in ascending order, descending order. Put things into columns. And I know this exists, conditional formatting in Excel, but to be able to just write it instead of multiple clicks, it's a time saver. And again, it goes to the heart of how do you work best? I'm not saying use Copilot for everything. I'm just trying to expose some really great features, because one of the things that I'm super excited about Copilot, I will never have to do a VLOOKUP again, because I have always, even with the wizard, found VLOOKUP to be very challenging. And I can tell Copilot, look at this column, show me what's different, put it into a new column. Or in the case of the example on the screen, take two columns, do some math for me, add a third column. And it's wonderful because it's a time saver. It's helping me grind through the data. And bonus, you can talk to Excel with words. Excel has historically been numbers, numbers, numbers. I can type in the prompt. Look at all this data and tell me these trends. Imagine a survey with a free text box and you have 200 responses and you have to go through that. And you're sitting at your Excel file thinking, how am I going through 200 rows of responses? Well, ask Copilot. What are the top 3 trends? What are the top 5 trends? Get yourself started because then you can highlight that data and dive deep into it. And you're using the data better, you're using the data quicker, and you're going to be able to just make better decisions about how you want to respond, what you want to create content wise or surface as a result of that data. And also, bonus, Copilot, of course, it's in your CRM system, it's in Power BI, and that can just help you find different parts of engagement, accounts that are moving from one part of a pipeline to another part of a pipeline. Create a journey for me. Yeah, I can clone it, I can duplicate it, but maybe I want Copilot to show me something that I'm not using. Technology changes so quickly, it is hard for us to stay on top of it. We have Copilot to help us.
Yeah, and I'll just add one flavor to that as well. Dynamics 365 marketing, you can create journeys using Copilot, and journeys are basically the progression of your marketing automation. So it's everywhere in Dynamics, it's everywhere in Microsoft
Nice.
365, so it's a pretty cool capability.
Yep. Quick pipeline look, pipeline view. It's great.
Yep.
And then social media, of course. We can use Copilot to create different parts of our social media campaigns and throughout the whole stage of create all of our stages from audience identification through the content, through the graphics, and then the help with the final analysis. It does a lot. So here's a prompt. Maybe I'm not sure what I want to focus on. Maybe I have competing priorities that are coming from my leadership. Well, what's trending right now on LinkedIn for the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry? And Copilot's going to bring that information back for me. Oh, I got to choose between pharmaceutical and chemical. Well, pharmaceutical's trending right now with this. I'm running with this and I'm going to prioritize this to go with. It's a great, the visibility that it gives you that you don't have before is phenomenal. And this is an exciting part, I think. Create a paid LinkedIn campaign for chemical manufacturers. I'm outlining my budget, $1,000. It's going to run for a month. Tell me everything I need to know, Copilot, because I'm going to go into LinkedIn and I'm going to enter that in. And look at this. This is your LinkedIn paid campaign right here. And how many times do we as marketers go in and we go to the page in LinkedIn and we're like, I didn't think about that. Don't have that outline. Where did I have that? Well, now I've got it in Copilot. I can check it here, just move it on over. It's a fabulous time saver. And also your cost per click. Maybe you're buying Google keywords. How much should my keyword cost? How much am I going to get out of it? Are others using it? What might be another keyword that I could use in its place? Show me if I use the keyword chemicals ERP, what is this going to possibly look like for me as far as how my budget's going to play out? And Copilot will run those scenarios and show you. And then again, extend it. What are other related keywords that might be a slightly lower cost that you could use? I click on that, Copilot's going to tell me. So a lot of uses around SEO, a lot of uses around social media, a lot of uses around your paid campaigns, your paid keywords. And lastly, key takeaways. And this probably summarizes it all. Know your goal. Give the context to Copilot so it knows what you're going to be doing with it. And tell Copilot how you want it to respond. Am I doing an infographic? Am I doing a table? Am I in Excel? Am I creating a paid campaign for you? It can create your whole marketing strategy if you want it. It could evaluate your marketing strategy. Tell Copilot what you want it to do. And just remember the prompt, the prompt, the prompt. And the more that you use Copilot as your assistant, the more effective you're going to be. And then I included just a few little bonus areas to start using Copilot. The sky is the limit. Have fun, jump into it. It's transformative.
Sue, this has been absolutely amazing. I guess one question I have for you, are you doing this right now? I mean, it sounds like you're using this pretty much day in and day out at Stone Ridge here. Is that what you are doing as well? These learnings, are you kind of
Yep.
experimenting with them as well internally?
I am. I use it day in, day out, and I was fortunate enough because I hadn't asked for a license, but a license was available, and Becky Newell reached out to me and said, "Hey, you want this license?" I was like, "I love technology. I'm a lifelong learner," and it was love at first sight.
Well,
And again, it's not my replacement, but it's definitely like having my own personal assistant, my professional assistant here, and it just keeps growing, and I keep finding new uses for it, and that's the key. Jump in and just start using it and see where you're gaining the efficiencies. Embrace it. If it doesn't work for you, keep doing what you're doing.
right?
But the thing is that this tool is available for you to use. And it's been a game changer.
Well, Sue, I really appreciate all of the learnings you've got given to the audience and even to me here. It's just so fun to learn about how people use Copilot to really tackle these needs. So I guess with that, Sue, I think we're wrapping up and people can jump to the next session. But
Yes.
thank you again
Apologies
for
for
your
going long,
learnings.
but it's exciting.
No worries. This is awesome. So thank you again, Sue, for everything. Everyone have a great one, and we'll look for you at our next session. So thank you much.
Thank you.